How are you doing? Good morning. Good morning. This is Mr. Woodford. I'm excited to walk you guys through another lesson today. We're going to be doing Unit 8, Lesson 4 for my 7th graders, and we're going to be talking about mean, median, and mode. All right, so if you have the worksheet in front of you, if you are able to print it out, or if you are going to just write down the notes on the side, that's perfectly fine as well. Let me share my screen with you so we can look at the assignment. Excellent. All right. So make sure everybody's seeing my screen with me. We're looking at lesson 8.4. And we're going to be talking about something called mean, median, and mode. All right, so I believe we all should be looking at this same screen here. I just want to double check to make sure we are perfect. And let's get great. So we're all looking at this screen here. We're going to be talking about how to calculate mean, median, and mode of sample data. Now, if you notice on lesson 8.3a, that I gave you, I did actually challenge you to see if you could figure out the mean, median, and mode. Well, not the mean, but definitely the median and the mode of some of the data points. And I'm not sure how we did. I'm still going over the assignments, but if you were able to understand a little bit about the median being the middle and the mode being the most occurring number, you might have a head start in this particular assignment. Now, remember, at every top of every worksheet, there is a QR code, which will give you a link to this particular video, so you can I'll walk you through not only the bell work but also the modeling, so that way you have an understanding and as well as an example of what you are to tackle in this worksheet. So let's start by looking at the bell work. It says create a dot plot below and then identify the range. I apologize about the double periods, right? But we're gonna create a dot plot and then we're gonna identify the range. Now, we talked about the range before, and if you remember what the range is, it is the highest value minus the lowest value. It's a way for us to look at the spread of the data. So we need to take the highest value minus the lowest value and we'll calculate the range. But we also need to create a dot plot of this information here. Let me give you guys a minute. Take a second to see if you could figure out what the dot plot looks like, as well as what the range of the data is. All right, I hope you was able to identify, make a dot plot as well as identify the range. I'm gonna actually fill it in right now so you can see exactly what it should look like. Give me 1 second. All right, great. So this is what your dot plot should look like after being filled in, right? We should have dots everywhere. You can see that 75 has a lot more than anyone else. We also talked a little bit on the last worksheet. I put in there a briefly understanding of skew data. Is it symmetrical? Is it skewed to the left? Is it skewed to the right? If I were to make a judgment based on this particular dot plot, it looks like it's more skewed to the right than it is anything else, but it does have data spread out a little bit here, right? Well, what is the actual range? What is the spread of this data? We take the highest value minus the lowest value. Now, the highest value you can see is 84. The lowest value you can see is 68, right? So if I do 84 minus 68, right? 84 minus 68 will end up with 16. So I hope everybody wrote down 16 for the bell work here. Okay. And that's our range of the data. Once again, let me just put this off to the side so that way everybody knows range. There we go. Range. This is our highest minus the lowest value, right? So if you find the highest number minus the lowest number, you'll calculate the range, okay? So now that we have that, take a second. If you need to copy down notes, if you need to rewrite your dot plot, pause the video and copy it down. I'm going to clear the text in a second, and that way we can continue to work on what is the actual objective of our lesson for today. All right, and I'm clearing it now. All right, excellent. So let's keep going. We're talking about, well, how can we use the mean, right? Mode and median to understand data values. These are all different ways of calculating something called central tendencies or averages in data, right? They're values that are very important to figure out, okay, well, what is the most recurring number, or what is the middle number, or what is the number that we can use to summarize the data? And that's what these three values are. Now, mean is the most accurate or the most useful in terms of summarizing the data out of everyone else, but there is value in understanding the median as well as understanding the mode. So you can see the visualized vocabulary says the mean is the average of all numbers. And the way we calculate the mean is by adding all numbers and then dividing by the amount of numbers that there were. And I'm going to show you that. The median is the middle number. So what number is actually in the middle? And the way that we calculate the number that's in the middle is we list our numbers from highest to lowest or from lowest to highest, and then we find our way in the middle, and then we'll see what the actual median is. Now, if it's an even amount of numbers, right? If it's an even amount of numbers, you would need to take the two that are in the middle, add them together, and then divide by 2. I'll say that again because the modeling example I'm giving you is not even, it's an odd number. But if there were an even amount of numbers, you would need to find the 2 that are in the middle, add them together, and then divide it by 2. And then you'll have, like, let's say, for example, there was like a 4 and a 6, right? Add them together, you get 10, divide by 2, you would get 5. That would be the median. But that's not one of the numbers. I get it. But that's how you would calculate the median, by finding the 2 numbers in the middle. If it was even, add them together and divide by 2. I'm going to show you that in a second, right? The mode is the value is the value that occurs the most. So what number occurs the most out of all your digits? Okay, so let's look at the modeling. This should be a very straightforward lesson for you today, but it's essential for us to understand it because there are a lot of points here that as we go further in understanding statistical data and how to represent it, whether it's by graphs, box plots, whatever it may be, we need to understand all these values: mean, median, mode, range, minimum, and maximum values, because we're going to need to have all those in order to create something called a dot plot, which is our very next lesson. So given the data values below, we need to calculate the mean, median, mode, and I want you to also practice calculating the range. So first thing I want to do is this. It says the mean. Now, according to our definition up there, the way we calculate mean is we actually add up all the numbers together, and then after we add up all the numbers together, we then divide by the total amount of numbers. So I'm actually going to do this right now, but to start off, take a second, pause the video, see if you can add up all these numbers and get one number. After you get that number, see if you can then divide that number by the total amount of numbers, okay? I'm going to take a second, let you pause it, and then I'm going to work and show what I would do to calculate the mean, okay? All right, so I'm going to put all the numbers here for the mean and add them together, okay? All right, so if you were to list it out 13 plus 10 plus 20 plus 16, right? If you were to, hold on one second. I see that the sharing has been paused. Let's bring it back up. I apologize. I know where it went, but let's get it back. Let's get it back. Let's get it back. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. All right. So if you were to, so let's go back down here. I apologize, right? If you were to, as I did before a little while ago, if you were to add all these values together, right? If you were to have a separate area over here, and you were to take a value and add them all together. So add 13 plus 10 plus 20 plus 16 plus 19 plus 14 plus 20 plus 13, and then finally plus 10. If you add all these values together, you should end up with 135, right? Now with that 135, we're gonna say, okay, well, how many numbers made up that 135? Because we need to divide it by that. So we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 numbers. So we're gonna say, okay, 135 divided by 9, all right? Once we do that, we'll end up with 15. This is our mean. That is our answer for the mean. The mean is 15. Once again, we add up all the numbers. We get this total number and we divide it by the amount of numbers. There were 9 numbers in total. We divide it by 9, we end up with 15. That's the mean. The median, mode, and range, I would prefer you to write the numbers from smallest to largest. So let's take a second to write the numbers from smallest to largest. We have, I see 10. I also see another 10, right? 2 10s. I see the next number is 13. I believe there's 2 13s. Then 14. Then 16. right? If you want to cross them out as you do them, that way you won't lose track of which ones you already wrote down. That's perfectly fine. That way you won't lose track of them. 19, 20, and I believe there's another 20. Now, how can I double check to make sure I wrote all the numbers? I'll count to make sure there's a total of 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Perfect. There are 9 numbers here. That means that I did write them. Now, they're from smallest to largest. What does that mean? I can tell you that the minimum of this data is 10. I can tell you that the max of this data is 20, right? But now I need to be able to say, okay, well, what is the median? What is the median of the data? What number's in the middle? Now, the good thing about this, there's an odd number of values here. What do I mean by odd number of values? 9 is an odd number. There are 9 values here. There's an odd number of values. So that means when I go to figure out which one is in the middle, I'm gonna have one number instead of 2. If there were 2 numbers in the middle, as I said before, you would definitely need to make sure you use the actual process of adding the 2 that's in the middle together and then dividing it by 2. Okay. Now I'm going to calculate the median by crossing them out. Right. I'm gonna cross out these. So that one, this one crosses out, and I'm just gonna work my way to the middle. See which one is here. 1 on this side, 1 on that side. 1 on this side, 1 on that side, and voila! The number that's in the middle is 14. So the median or the middle number, oh, let me get rid of that yellow. I'm sorry. Let me turn it back to being black. The number that's in the middle is going to be 14. Okay. Ooh. Trying to figure out how this did that. This is I'm using a brand new stylus here on this pen, and I'm still adjusting to it. I still haven't figured out how it does that. Okay, so 14. All right, what is the mode? What number occurs the most? Now, as you can look at the data, you see that there's 2 10s, right? You'll see that there's 2 13s, and there's 2 20s. So all these numbers occur the same amount. So I'm gonna write all 3 of them for the mode: 10, 13, and 20. All 3 of them are considered the mode because they all occur the most. Now, if there was an extra 20 there where there was 3 20s and 2 10s, 2 13s, then 20 would be the mode because that's the most reoccurring. However, because all 3 of those occur the same amount, I'm going to write all 3 of them as the mode, right? The range we know is the highest minus the lowest. So for the range here, we're going to do 20 minus 10, and we're going to get our answer of 10. All right, that's a 10 there. Perfect, okay? So this is what we calculate when we calculate mean, median, and mode. It shouldn't be too complicated, but take a second, review the video if you need to, but then I believe there are 8 problems for you to do on your own. There are a mix of even values as well as odd values and an independent practice for you to complete. But remember, if there's an even number, you will need to find the 2 that are in the middle to calculate the median, add them together, and divide by 2, okay? Thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to talking to you guys soon. If there are any questions, feel free to reach back out to me. I would love to help you as best as I can. Until next time, have a wonderful day.